The residents of Lewiston, Maine are the newest members of a club no one ever wants to join, the legion of cities and towns across the U.S. who've been terrorized by a mass shooting. That includes Nashville, Tennessee, where just 7 months before the Maine shooting, a gunman murdered 6 people at an elementary school, including 3 young children. Horrified by what he saw, my next guest, Tennessee State Representative Justin J. Pearson, and 2 others took to the House floor to protest gun violence. In response, his Republican colleagues voted him out of the legislature, though he was reinstated a few days later and then went on to win re-election. Since then, Pearson has only ramped up his advocacy efforts here, fighting for gun control as well as social, racial, and economic justice. Now, part of that advocacy includes an upcoming event for the nonprofit Action for Boston Community Development, ABCD, as we know it, which will honor local community heroes. Representative Pearson joins me now, as does the president and CEO for ABCD, Sharon Scott Chandler. Thank you both for being with me tonight.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. Yeah, absolutely. Rep Pearson, in researching this, I found out that you actually went to college just outside of Lewiston, Maine.
Yeah, no, I went to school at Bowdoin, about 20 miles south of Lewiston. The Maine community means a whole lot to me. It's a place that was very nurturing to who I have become, and to see them again, as you mentioned, a part of a long, very tragic lineage of communities that are suffering from the effects of gun violence and mass shootings is really hurtful, is really scary, and is traumatizing. We cannot be desensitized or normalize the violence that we are seeing in our communities. And the reality is a lot of this is preventable. And it is incumbent upon legislators and people who are in positions of power to use their voices, their positions, and their pens to write legislation that prevents weapons of war from being in the hands of ordinary people and in the hands of people who should not have access to them. And Maine, just as Tennessee, ought to do more to prevent these types of tragedies so that we don't have incidents like we saw this past week in Maine.
Yeah, and I know that you're thoughtful and you know about this community. I mean, the ripple effects of any community after a mass shooting continues to be felt. School is going to be affected and has been affected so that kids and that community can heal as well. I'm interested, Rep Pearson, about these ripple effects and what you know about how it affects a community, especially after what we saw in Nashville, Tennessee, and why you became so activated around this subject.
Yeah, I mean, my community in District 86 experiences gun violence nearly every single day, unfortunately. And so we are not new to the consequences that gun violence has in our communities. This year, this January, a few days after my birthday, my classmate Larry Thorne was murdered. Last fall, my mentor, Dr. Yvonne Nelson, was murdered. Gun violence is something that is hurting and shattering our communities on a consistent basis. And a mass shooting continues that shattering. And you look at what happened in Nashville at the Covenant School, and not only did it impact that school, it impacts the parents, it impacts the siblings, it impacts the legislators, it impacts everyone who is connected in any way. And even across the country, due to news and the spreading of information, right, it does re-traumatize us. Because every time we see people in power say, I'm sending my thoughts and prayers and I hope evil gets prayed away, well, we know those same folks could do things that prevent these tragedies by not following the leadership of the National Rifle Association, but instead follow the leadership of the nation, which overwhelmingly wants to see a ban on assault weapons, which overwhelmingly wants people to have universal background checks, which overwhelmingly wants extreme risk protection orders. Even in our state, we're a southern state, overwhelmingly Republican state in our legislature, and over 70% of people, including MAGA Republicans, want to see gun violence prevention measures. But the lives of the children who are lost, but then their best friends and their parents who I have talked with and who I have met, are forever changed. And there is no healing, there's no remedy that soothe the hurt that they are experiencing. And what I'll also say, and what I can also attest to from the tragedy of the Covenant School shooting, is that a lot of those parents a lot of those teachers have become advocates in and of themselves to fight to change the policies and the failures of government. And so the movement of justice rooted in love continues and persists. And I know Maine folks are resilient and strong people and loving and caring folks and are going to be able to rebuild community. And I do believe are going to build stronger. But truth be told, I just wish they didn't have to experience this in the first place.
Well, in speaking of that advocacy, we know that you're being given an award by ABCD. And Sharon, I wonder if you could talk to me a little bit about this award and why Rep. Pearson and his advocacy work is being highlighted this year.
Well, this year, this is our Community Heroes Celebration, the ABCD Community Heroes Celebration, and we're celebrating this year 18 community heroes, people who have, they're volunteers, they're advocates, collaborators, corporate citizens, and they're folks who, together with us, do the work of ensuring people have opportunity. And, you know, they range from doing work in food security and health equity and homelessness and leadership. And so we thought it was really important to have a conversation and honor them by having a really engaging conversation. And Representative Pearson is part of that. So he, along with Lawrence O'Donnell, the host of MSNBC's The Last Word, will engage in a keynote conversation during this hero celebration to talk about some of the issues. ABCD has long been an advocate. It's long been a place where we not only do services, but we also raise up the issues and the important issues that our communities face. And Representative Pearson is just a huge example of that, both in the gun violence space, but also in defending democracy and in climate justice and many of those things. So we're anxious and excited to hear his perspective on that and really bringing it home to Boston as well, because both Representative Pearson, you've mentioned his ties to Boston. Lawrence O'Donnell is a Dorchester native. So it's going to be all about the home folks, really talking to our community heroes and talking to our family, our ABCD supporters and family that night.
For sure. And as we talk about these issues around social, racial justice, economic justice here, all of these things play a part when we see something like these devastating events that happened in Maine. We had a guest on yesterday talking about the mental health aspect that always gets played up in these situations. And then we don't hear about more support for mental health service and access in this country. And it seems like there's a disconnect there. And I wonder, Rep. Pearson, if you could speak to that, because I know, this is a common thing that brings up an individual has mental health issue. And so it's the person, not the guns. But time and time again, we don't see anything change in the healthcare access space.
That's right. I mean, here in Tennessee, the legislature had a special session that was supposed to prioritize dealing with the gun violence epidemic that we're experiencing. And it is an epidemic. Gun violence is the #1 killer of children in our country. This is not a small matter. Your child, unfortunately, is more likely to die the victim of gun violence than a car accident or even having cancer. This is our reality that we are in. But in our state house, all my colleagues want to do was speak about mental health care and speak about mental health without actually doing anything to expand access to health care. Truly, if people cared, you would see a Medicaid expansion going across the South. We have 300,000 people who are uninsured because our state has refused to expand Medicaid. I mean, when people are talking about, mental health is a problem, we also have to stop blaming people with mental illnesses for gun violence, mass shootings, particularly because only 4% of shootings are being done by people with documented mental illnesses. The majority are coming from people who do not have a history of mental illness, but they do have access to weapons of war. They do have access to AR-15s and assault-style weapons that are allowing them to wreak havoc on our communities. And so people have to do something to prevent folks from being able to access these weapons in the first place. We have to prevent people from being able to commit these atrocities in the first place and not look to blame them, and then especially not look to provide real solutions, but speak about problems. And so I'm all for, obviously, more investments in mental health care, ensuring that people get more resources, investing hundreds of millions of dollars into new facilities and supporting folks, particularly the unhoused community who does not have access to these resources. And we have to be honest with ourselves that there have been more mass shootings in this country than there have been days, that there are more guns in the United States of America than there are people, that we have a problem when it comes to gun violence because we have a problem with doing all that we can to prevent it from happening because we're allowing the proliferation of gun violence to impact our communities in a devastating way.
Sharon, I know that ABCD's work is connecting the community to the resources that they need. What kind of help and support would nonprofits like yours need in order to change the tide for some of these folks?
Well, I think even in a state like Massachusetts, where we really kind of are on that cutting edge of health and health care, our needs in the mental health arena are just as Representative Pearson said. Our folks cannot access mental health services in the way that we need them. And post-pandemic, it's even more acute, or at least it's been revealed as more acute. And so we're hoping that there's more investment in mental health, again, housing, food security, education. So many of these issues that people deal with in their daily lives contribute to the stress and the trauma, and thus the mental health challenges that we have. So the investments in those programs, the investment in those services targeted to our communities is really what we need.
And Rep. Pearson, I mean, did you imagine when you protested in, the House there in Tennessee that you would end up with this national platform and be thrust into a national conversation around gun control, gun violence, and what needs to be done to save lives?
No, we went to the well of the House floor because 6 people were murdered at the Cognate School, 3 of them being 9-year-old children. And our state legislature did nothing. We went home the day that happened. And when we returned back to work, no one spoke about passing meaningful gun prevention legislation. It was very business as usual. We were not allowed to talk about gun violence that day on the House floor. Our mics were cut off, our democracy crumbling. And we went to the well because 7,000 people, mostly children under the age of 18, were shouting, "Am I next? Ban assault weapons, protect our lives, do something." And the people in power here, our Speaker of the House, Cameron Sexton, and Leader Lambert, they didn't want to do anything. And so we had to give voice to people who have for too long been denied the opportunity to have their voices heard. It's not that they are voiceless. We had to do something different than what the status quo was allowing for at that point in time. And now that this tragedy has happened, the people who keep protesting, who keep speaking up, are leading a triumph in the issue, raising the issue about gun violence. And we cannot operate in this status quo, pretending that things are normal, that this is okay. We have to do more, and we have to do everything that we can to prevent gun violence. And we can, right? When you're an elected person, you have the capacity to actually change laws. You as a person, as a citizen, as a person who's a part of this democracy, you can send emails and phone calls and march and protest and make signs. Right? Like, you have power too. And it really is the power of the people externally that push the people internally inside the institution to do things differently. And that's what happened. And now it is incumbent upon both of us to do all that we can, literally, with all the energy and all the effort and all the might that we can to end this crisis and the intersectional crises that Chief Sarah was just talking about. of poverty, of environmental and climate injustices that we know are going to disproportionately hurt the poor, of housing inequity, of healthcare inequity. We have to address all of these interlocking injustices in an intentional and a meaningful way. And the truth is we can do it. It is not an impossibility.
For sure. Well, thank you so much, Representative Pearson and Sharon Scott Chandler, for your time tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.